Tell us, why did you decide to start a sequel instead of a new IP?
Players are looking forward to what's next. If we constantly making new games, right, we never learn. So it's always where I will tell our team or tell myself is actually if we are not making sequels, right, we are not learning. We always move on to new genre.
Tell us about Postknight. This is to introduce to people who are unfamiliar with the game.
So when we work on Postknight, is actually we want to reimagine the classic RPG. So we're trying to combine all this and into a mobile. There's a lot of RPG in mobile phone, but the way that we play mobile games and the way we play console games is very different. Because when we decided to play console games, right, you will just know that you're going to sit down and play for 2 hours or 3 hours. You're going to set a time and then you will just jump right in and play. But when we play mobile games, right, sometimes it can be just because we are waiting for bus, waiting for food, and then we just pick up and play. Even though you think that you want to play on this game for 1 hour, just because sometimes because it's a phone, there's messages, ding ding, then you end up replying the messages and go into conversations and all that. So when we approach the Postknight, actually we're trying to make the story into smaller chunks, and then we have this go button. One main go button in the game, but you can just go back right in. You do not know where you stop, just press the go button. We'll make you resume where you go. You go back to there. Like if it's a quest, you'll go back to the quest. If it's halfway doing something, we'll just help you to resume it. Decided to thinking of what game to mix and all that after Tiny Gardens. Actually, I traveled to Tokyo, where I saw a lot of people commuting. Where one hand they have to hold their bags or documents and all that, and another hand usually they are holding the phones to play games. It's just a joke to myself. No wonder people are not playing our games in Japan, because like our games need to be two-handed, like landscape mode. You need to hold it, so they can't play it on the train because they need to hold on to something. When we work on Postknight, we make it in the way that it can be played one-handed. So all the interface and all that are designed in a way that it's reachable with just one single hand. The biggest inspiration for Postknight, I would say, because previously like we have this game called Go Night, right? And Go Night was actually inspired by this half-minute hero.
Yeah.
Where this they always have this 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Like what the game inspired me a lot is actually the way that the battle can be that simplified. Like the characters just go ahead and then clash into an enemy, and then the damage will just come out. And somehow I kind of like that mechanic. You can see this battle system is actually incorporates in both King's League and Postknight as well.
So what does Postknight 2 do that is different from the first one?
Postknight, the way that we approach Postknight 2 is actually everything becomes better. So in terms of the visual, it gets better, animations get better, stories get better. So we actually add in a lot more in terms of the social elements into Postknight 2. So it's not like a social games that you must have friends and all that to play, but there's extra layers where you can discuss this game, or like there's certain parts of the games that you can play together with your friends. So in Postknight 2, actually we don't have gender, but we do have long hair, short hairs, eyes with eyelashes, and very feminine characteristic kind of customizations, or very neutral and all that. So basically you can choose and you can define. So you can define yourself as a male character with all the aesthetic that actually looks like it. It's up to you. So we don't try to define for you as well. And one of the features that we have in Postknight 1 was bonding. It's actually a system that back then when I designed to trying to do something like mobile game have this like daily login.
Yeah,
you go in,
people to come in.
You go in, come back. So I also trying to not doing the daily login if I find it like it's very systematic. We have this bonding system where you can have relationships or relationships with the characters by giving them gift every day. They were also giving you items back every day. So there's like in certain way, like your daily login kind of bonus, but we tied it more to the characters.
What do you feel are the biggest changes or improvements to Postknight 2?
We set the same role and we set the story as 10 years later.
10 years later.
And 10 years later, many things have changed. And one thing that the players that actually in product testing appreciates a lot is actually they get to meet back some of the characters they used to encounter in Postknight 1, but now they are 10 years older, they are matured, they have their own business or they have their own thing now.
Okay.
So yeah.
That's cool.
But not all, only some of the characters make it back.
Yeah. Alright, what's your biggest challenge or your biggest challenges with developing the game so far?
I think it's similar with the previous interview we talked about it. It's actually deciding when it's ready, and also because like Postknight is a sequel, right? It's often people is going to compare what's different compared to the first one. As we continue to bring in new experience, we will still want to maintain the kind of feeling that Postknight 1 provide, because we do not want people play Postknight 2, but when they play Postknight 2, it's totally feel like different games, so they don't like it. Right? There's a reason why people want sequel, because they kind of like whatever experience they had in the first one. As we continue to do this, it's not like a guarantee that we're going to make it. It's actually end up a lot of try and error. We try this, we try that. So it's always like trying to releasing game in time while it's still relevant or people still feel like want to play it. At the same time, like deliver something that live up to people's players' expectations.
Well, speaking of the game's release, you'll be launching it in early access, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, actually, we announced the date in March 2nd. Actually, the first Postknight actually released in early access.
Oh, right.
This is actually our first time that we do early access, and in fact, right, it's actually very helpful to us. So back then, when we do early access, it's actually Google Play start to introduce that features. For us, it's actually just maybe we give it a try, like new features, right? But what surprised us is actually when we do in early access, right, the kind of feedback that we are getting is very different. It's very constructive. Like some of the players actually in early access tell us that this is way too cheap, you should price like this. This is way too generous, you should do this and do that. So this is how we learn and fine-tuning it. I can't tell for sure now in 2021 what is the player expectation for early access now, because this has been a while since we do early access. We're trying to, like I said, adapt to it as we go on.
Well, the game's gonna be free to play in the end, right? When it comes
Yeah,
up.
it's going to be free to play.
Will it be monetized during early access?
Yes. So of course, it won't be the full monetizations, and also in fact we don't tend to be very aggressive in monetizations. Not in early access, it's not in final game as well. We want to put it in a way where it's provide additional values to the players. So how we plan to monetize actually through the cosmetic stuff. So why we have actually trying to monetize in early access is actually not that we want the money. It's more towards like the monetization need to be tested as well. Pretty much in the first month of early access, we are still prioritizing making the game as fun as possible. So let's get the priority right, get the game really fun first, then after that, I'll go into optimizing the monetization.
Can you share about like the roadmap or plans for the Postknight 2 early access?
This is the interesting question. So this is also a question I ask myself, right? We are looking about 3 months first, because on mobiles, right, when you do early access, you can only run it on Google Play. For Apple, right, iOS, it doesn't have any mechanic for early access, which means when we are doing early access, right, the players that are currently want to play on iOS wouldn't be able to do it. This three months goal basically is like I said, we want to work together with players. So currently we are looking at the first month is actually getting enough features or content. They will start to see a bit of basic sets of the monetizations. They also get to experience the third town, the Calder Mount, with more full content and all that storytelling and so on. After that, the second month we are looking into a bit more new features. Just like I mentioned about the alchemies, right, where you actually can craft your own potions and all that. Postknight 2, I talk about the social part, the social elements part, where actually one of the things that we want to do on it is the divisions, where you can get your friends together to deliver things together, to make progress certain quests together. We also try to add more of the customization options. We are also introducing the fashions, which is for example, your Postknight uniform. So these are the small little features that we want to introduce it as we go on to the early access.